A note from the producers. This episode includes discussion of child sexual abuse and trafficking. Listener discretion advised.
Hi, Brian.
Hi, Glennis.
How are you?
I'm good. You know, running late this morning per usual for me, but we're here. We're queer.
We're here.
Get into it.
I'm an ally. I'm a straight ally.
Glennis is secretly queer. I have a feeling.
I don't want to queer bait.
I want you to queer bait.
Okay.
We need to be on Lesbian TikTok.
Is that a thing? Of course it's a thing.
Lesbian Talk.
Are you on Lesbian Talk?
I'm deep in Lesbian Talk.
I want to see your algo. Mine is crazy. My algorithm right now is like not right. Something's going on with my TikTok.
I'm Brian.
I'm Glennis.
And welcome back to Vibes Only.
We have someone who has a tremendous TikTok on our show today. We're super thrilled. Our first guest of season 3, and a very important one at that. Eliza Orlins, our friend, our collaborator. She has been a public defender.
Iconic Survivor player.
Iconic Survivor player.
It's a fucking stick. You know her, you love her. Eliza Orlins.
Eliza, we are literally thrilled to have you. Thank you for joining us early. Our community knows we record early in the morning, so we appreciate it.
It's outrageous. I actually never get up this early, and I despise you both for this.
Well,
That means it's actually indicative of how much I love you.
Absolutely.
Because otherwise I would not be here.
Yes, I take that as a compliment. So thank you so much.
So, Eliza, we are here today to talk to you about this tremendous thing that you did last week, which was you live streamed for 24 hours the Epstein files. And there's so much that we can unpack here because, one, I think it's like extremely important that we as people on the left continue the drumbeat of talking about the Epstein files, of talking about the Epstein class. You know, we saw what happened to Massie last week in the primary, one of the only Republicans to actually demand some accountability around the Epstein files. What was your why for doing that? How did that idea come to be? How did it happen? And what was your experience?
Do you guys know Steve Schmidt, co-founder of the Lincoln Project? And he is a steering committee member of Save America movement. We've known each other for a long time. He supported my run for office 5 years ago. And he reached out and asked me to come on his live stream to talk about the Rape Academy story and the legality and all that. And so we had a great hour-long conversation. And he was like, I was looking at your social media. You've been on this Epstein beat. So he connected me with Save America movement, and I got on a call with his producer. And she said, listen, Eliza, we would like to find a way to really bring attention to the Epstein files and not allow people to forget this story. Do you have any ideas? You know, there's this redacted reading room in Tribeca. It's a temporary exhibit. We'd love to bring attention to it. And I was like, I don't know, why don't I do like a Cory Booker style filibuster and just read it for 24 hours and live stream it? And she was like, oh my God, you are insane and I love it. Yes, let's make this happen.
Period.
And the Save America movement really dove into doing all the production stuff. I mean, they brought in an incredible team that did all of the tech stuff, that booked a lot of the daytime guests, and had like this whole run of show for 24 hours of who was going to step in and read for me. And I'm looking at it and I realized that we have no one from like midnight to 7:30 a.m. And I was like, I'm going to die. Like, I can't actually physically do that. And so then I started reaching out to more people, and we like ended up booking a ton of folks, some of our West Coast friends and activists and influencers. The survivors joined for both the open and the close, which was like very powerful. We had politicians and just incredible people joining throughout to give me little breaks in between. It was so exhausting, but I think so impactful and so important. And now, you know, that stream lives on. And a lot of the survivors said this is something that now we can point to. We can say, hey, like this stuff was read out loud, you know, and people can't ignore this. It really brought a lot of attention to the reading room as well, which thankfully just announced that they are going on the road. They've raised enough money that they're going to go on the road. They are opening 2 blocks from the White House.
Wow.
And so Trump is going to be doing his big birthday 250 celebration, and the Epstein files are going to be there in their printed glory, these bound books that weigh 17,000 pounds. It's really extraordinary.
Okay, most importantly, did you wear a diaper?
No, it wasn't a real filibuster. I was allowed to go to the bathroom and eat and take, you know, little breaks. It wasn't a true filibuster, thankfully.
No, that is Absolutely incredible. Kudos to you and the whole team for pulling it off. That's not an easy thing to do. And it's such an important topic for you to be shining a light on, which Glennis and I have both seen you do on your own social. What would you say was a surprising reaction from people who were watching, listening, engaging? How was it received?
What's fascinating to me, I mean, I've actually been talking about Epstein online since 2018.
Wow.
Because the Manhattan District Attorney did something extremely unusual that I had never seen for one of my clients in my 15 years of public defending, which is they asked for what's called a downward departure in his sex offender registration level. Basically, if you get convicted of a sex crime, you get a SORA, Sex Offender Registration Act level. And in every case, they're always trying to make it the most severe. So they're always trying to do an upward departure. And I had never, ever, ever seen that you basically have this chart and there are points assigned. And on Jeffrey Epstein, they asked for a downward departure on his SORA level, which is completely unheard of. I can't emphasize enough how absolutely unheard of this is, to the point where Judge Pickholtz, a judge who I was very familiar with, ended up issuing a written decision slamming the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, saying, this is outrageous and I will not do a downward departure, and how dare you, basically. It was something that caught my eye because I felt that Cy Vance, who was the Manhattan District Attorney at the time, was doing a lot of things like this, not prosecuting Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, these rich, powerful white men. And meanwhile, my clients, who were poor people of color, were getting the book thrown at them. This was when I was thinking about running against him. And so I've been talking about Jeffrey Epstein for a really long time. And then reading tens of thousands of pages of the Epstein files, I've read the Ghislaine Maxwell trial transcripts. I mean, these things are truly horrific. And what I realized in doing this 24-hour live stream, both from the feedback I got from people watching, but also from some of the people who jumped in to do some of the reading for me, is most people, in spite of having heard so much about this Epstein stuff, have not actually read much of it. And I think they found it much more disturbing than they even knew. Because when you are reading these things about 14-year-old girls being preyed upon, being literally picked up at their camp, at Interlochen camp, told they're going to be given scholarships because they're so talented and they want to support them, and it's poorer kids who are having family issues, Ghislaine Maxwell picking them up and then bringing them and really literally trafficking them to Jeffrey Epstein to get sexually assaulted. People are horrified. It just reiterated to me how important it is that we don't stop beating this drum, because people don't actually know what's in the Epstein files. And, if I could do one 24-hour live stream a week, I would do it. I just physically am not capable. It's a lot, I'm finally recovered a week later, but it was, it's really important.
Yeah, it's I have a pit in my stomach even hearing you talk about this, because it's such a good reminder that this Epstein class, what Jeffrey Epstein and his cohort of predators did to these young women and girls, is so predatory and was so coordinated at all levels of society. And we cannot stop talking about it. There are still 2 million files that haven't been released. They've released 3 million. More. Okay, so more than 2 million files that have not yet been released, and Donald Trump is saying, no, we've done our job. We've released all the files, and it's absolute bullshit. And I think the power of you as this creator who has a huge following and your career as a public defender, you are able to, with authority, speak about this, and with the legal authority as well. And you make it very tangible for people to understand.
What people don't realize about the lack of release of the files is it's not just DOJ files that are missing. It's improper redactions in the files that we do have. And also, Senator Wyden has been an absolute champion on this, but there's a whole host of files that aren't under the Department of Justice that are actually Treasury files that implicate Epstein, that implicate banks, that implicate Jamie Dimon. There are all these financial files that we should be entitled to, and we should be saying release the Treasury files, not just when we say release the files, people were really talking about the DOJ files. But these Treasury files implicate all these people who were complicit, who knew exactly who Jeffrey Epstein was and what he was doing. They should be released also.
I do want to move us on from Epstein in a second, but we just saw Thomas Massie lose his re-election in Kentucky. What is next for the movement to release the files, for the campaign, the pressure on Trump and the administration to release it? What does that look like?
Part of it is just the amplification of this story, which is why I was so grateful that you two asked me to come on to talk about this, because I really think the more people refuse to let this go, I do think this is still a bipartisan issue. Obviously, Massie lost. Obviously, Trump and his people are like, oh no, we already did our job. We don't have to talk about this anymore. But there's still a lot of Republicans who are extremely upset about this. I don't think we can rule out the fact that the general public has been talking about this and has been obsessed with this for a long time, and people think this is not okay. So we need to just keep amplifying this. I think the reading room traveling around to different cities is going to be huge, because I think there's something extremely powerful about seeing these bound copies of the Epstein files and saying there are folks who read this for 24 hours. They didn't even get through a full volume. It would take, even if we read for 24 hours a day, if we read it like a good clip, it would take us 4.5 years to read all the files in this little space, in this room. There's plans to bring it to places where maybe these are swing states, you know, leading up to the midterms. Maybe these are places where when we throw that stuff in people's faces, they're going to say, hey, can I really support someone who's not going to hold these people accountable? Who trafficked 14-year-old girls? Like, you know, the survivors who were there, there's this big, I think you've both been there, but there's this big timeline. And when the survivors were there, they asked if they could add themselves to the timeline. And so they wrote handwritten and they put themselves by date, you know, at 14 years old, this person was trafficked to Prince Andrew. At 14 years old, Donald Trump, you know, and they placed themselves on the timeline. And it's just like very powerful to see. And so I think not ignoring this story and making sure that we keep beating this drum for accountability really matters.
Wow. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, obviously we're no friends of Thomas Massie, but we want to make sure that like Congress continues to push the issue. I'm glad that Khanna has been a leader on this in the way that he has, and I feel like we need more Democrats and Republicans too, but like we need more people to step up.
Yeah, I completely agree. We should not let this go. Obviously, I've spent my career as a public defender, so I have read about horrific crimes for 15 years. I've represented over 5,000 people, and I was reading the Epstein files and I found myself like extremely upset. And I kind of was like, but I've read horrific allegations. Like, why is this so different? Like kind of examining why I felt so upset by it. And I realized that every time I've ever read a horrific case before where there are allegations of something horrible happening, it was because there was going to be accountability. You know, most of my clients end up taking pleas, end up spending decades in prison if they've done something like that. And I realized in reading all this stuff, I'm reading about Elon Musk, about Donald Trump, about Leon Black, about all of these people who are leading the free world, whether they're the richest men in the world, whether they're the most powerful men in the world, you know, and none of them have faced any accountability. No one has been prosecuted or held accountable for the things that they've done or the things they were complicit in. And it just like, it really makes you sick to your stomach. It really is one of those things that just is such a gut punch to be like, oh wow, like they just have evaded all measure of accountability.
And the system is designed that way. And I just want to double down on that point. It is so disheartening and disgusting, and it's so important. Anyone listening, like if you see a story on Epstein, please share it. If you are in conversation and someone doesn't want to talk about it, like of course don't force them, but we have to continue to talk about the structure and the system that is in place and being protected by Republicans.
T.
We can't let you go without asking you about something that Brian and I... Did you know that Brian and I are super fans of Survivor?
I mean, Brian and I definitely have messaged about Survivor a bunch of times over the years.
Yeah.
So we have to, like, speaking of accountability, we have to talk. You have said publicly that you believe you will never be asked back to Survivor. Why is that?
You know, I pretty aggressively went very hard at CBS. I think CBS has taken, obviously, as we all know, a hard right turn. They have capitulated to this administration, both by paying this massive settlement, $16 million, and then, you know, Barry Weiss taking over CBS News. They've just like really become a MAGA network. They canceled Colbert, and the survivor of it all is they cast this woman who was known for using slurs on her original season and ended up, going on a drunken anti-Semitic rant against me.
Yes.
And it just kind of all falls in line with the way that CBS has turned these days. And instead of saying, yeah, listen, maybe we shouldn't have cast her, we're going to call her out for this absolute horrific behavior, and we're not going to feature her, or we're not going to put her on red carpets, or we're not going to highlight her, they sent CBS Legal after me and tried to intimidate me from saying anything. And I was like, oh, you guys, you're messing with the wrong bitch. Like,
yeah.
Nope. I have not done anything wrong. Like, you got the wrong girl. And so I very publicly called them out the week of the premiere. I didn't just burn that bridge. I threw a Molotov cocktail at it and really blew it up. And so, yeah,
well,
I don't think I'll be being asked back.
Did you see the popularity favorability rankings after the season?
I did that.
I mean, Glennis, did you see it?
No, I don't know what
Stephanie was in literal last place, had the most unfavorable views from all viewership.
Can we talk about that last tribal when she's looking in the camera and she's like, Jonathan, what? She is a horrible person. Oh my God, did you not watch it?
Wait, at Final Tribal?
Yeah, when she was she was like, you're an all-around player.
Sure.
The same way that she was going super zoomed into camera when she was going on the tirade against you, Eliza. It was absolutely nuts. Completely agree with you that she should not be platformed as a human being, and we love you.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, no, she's the lowest rated. And I don't think that people would have otherwise known about this without that video that I put out at premiere week, because they didn't do anything to make her even look that bad on the show. Jonathan was Roy Moore's bodyguard. Did you know that?
No,
I worked for Roy Moore.
Are you serious?
Yeah. He's a huge MAGA person too. Of course, they had their MAGA alliance.
I didn't know that, but I knew. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
The energy was wrong. The energy was incorrect. I hated watching him all season, to be honest. I really didn't. I was not feeling it. Nobody was, according to that data that we saw.
The MAGA contestants all being the lowest rated, I was like, that is so beautiful. It's like Chrissy, cut from the same cloth Chrissy, Jonathan, Coach, and Steph being the bottom four. It was just like chef's kiss.
See ya.
Who went out too soon? What one person went out too soon in 50?
Well, I mean, Kyle Frazier.
Yeah. That's T.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's a good guy, fellow lawyer.
Yeah.
Outspoken, just a solid, nice, lovely human. And especially going out with an injury like that really sucks.
Yeah. Wrap them ankles, guys. Come on.
Yeah. Do some Achilles training. I don't know.
Poor guy.
Yeah, that was rough.
Eliza, thank you so much for being with us. We really appreciate your work and your advocacy for the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein, for your continued efforts to make the Democratic Party better and smarter, for making all of us smarter online. We're thrilled to have you, and thank you for your time.
Love you both, and I'll see you soon.
Yes, very soon.
Okay, Diva, we have two big stories that we need to cover for the week.
We do.
The first, election results. Have you looked at what happened in Texas?
Yes. Did you see the New York Times margin map?
No, tell me.
Well, one, let's state what happened. Ken Paxton, the infamously corrupt Ken Paxton, was endorsed by Donald Trump in the Texas Republican Senate primary, which is now, again, the most expensive primary in the history of the United States of America, topping out over $100 million spent.
Right.
And I saw this stat. I think 80 million of that was spent against Ken Paxton.
Correct.
For ads.
Correct.
But Donald Trump's endorsement got him over the finish line. So the New York Times does this image that shows arrows of how districts go towards the entire state of Texas towards Paxton. It was
swung to the
right.
It was
crazy. Yeah, it was crazy.
I mean, Cornyn only picked up 3 counties, so that doesn't surprise me. This was a runoff election. There had been a primary a month and a half ago. That was when Tallarico fought or was up against Jasmine Crockett. There was not a cage match, but we will be talking about a cage match soon. And so this was a runoff because neither of them got to 50% because there was this dude, Wesley Hunt, in it. So Cornyn is the 1 billion-year-old incumbent, and people being like defense hawks and the establishment wanted him to stay because he's a reliable vote. Trump does not like Cornyn because he voted to convict him after Trump helped facilitate the attack on January 6th. We were in this scenario where Ken Paxton, who's thought of as being extremely unelectable in a general election because he's committed crimes and he had a fraud settlement. He's went through a really messy divorce. He was like cheating on his wife. He's a lunatic. His politics are extremely far right. He's the one who tries to sue doctors in other states for performing reproductive care and abortions on people, like all kinds of crazy shit. He's tried to open a detransition clinic to untrans people. He's a lunatic. There was a concern that him being up in a general election against Tallarico, who's like a bona fide center left sort of Christian pastor dude with wide appeal, could actually present some real problems for Republicans and make them go spend another $100 million in the state to make sure that the Republican wins. And that's exactly the scenario that we got. It was kind of, from a Democratic standpoint, kind of best case politically for us in many ways. Now that Cornyn has been defeated resoundingly, it was not even close. We thought it was going to be like a 5-7 point race, something like that.
Wasn't it 28 points as of last night?
It was almost 30 points. He was wiped out. They wiped the floor with him. Now Cornyn's probably going to be on a warpath against Trump for the rest of his term. And so Trump is like continually pissing these people off who he needs to vote for his shit in the Senate and in the House. So I'm just like, I have my popcorn. I'm thrilled with the outcome. Last night, I'm like, more. But we got to keep Ken Paxton out of the Senate.
Right. Is Donald Trump creating a lame duck before November with all of these Republicans that he's pissing off? I just want to like go through this hit list of Ken Paxton being corrupt and criminal. 2015, he was indicted on 2 first-degree felony charges for defrauding investors while serving in the Texas legislature. 2020, senior aides, people who worked for him, reported him to the FBI, alleging bribery and abuse of office. Those continued. He settled a whistleblower lawsuit for $3.3 million in taxpayer dollars. Texas taxpayer dollars. The Texas House impeached him in 2023. Then the Senate acquitted him of the 16 articles of impeachment. And then, of course, as you said, the wife drama. This guy is comically corrupt and unelectable. Brian, is the Trump endorsement that important?
Well, Paxton was already leading in most polling before the Trump endorsement. So there's a little bit of chicken and egg here of, yes, it is clear that Trump wanted Paxton over Cornyn. That's been true. But did Trump endorse and then that surged his polling, or did Trump endorse because he saw the polling that showed that Paxton was going to win, and so he just kind of said like fuck it? It was probably kind of both. But yes, we can say definitively that in the Republican cult, a Trump endorsement is everything. Like, it's literally everything. We just saw the same thing in the Cassidy race in Louisiana. We saw the same thing in Indiana with the state legislators. We saw the same thing with Massie. Republicans cannot get enough Trump, and they have replaced their moral compass, their entire policy platform and vision for the country with a orange monster. So what he says goes, because otherwise, like, what do you make a decision based off of? Because you don't have any values anymore, you know?
Texans clearly hate themselves. Like, if you're voting for a person like Ken Paxton, you hate yourself. I just cannot imagine being like circling that dot for Ken Paxton after all of the corruption. It is so mind-boggling.
I mean, it kind of amplifies that we're living in this time where being a target of the majority to a certain class of people makes people believe that you're standing up for something. Like the very fact that people are against you validates the idea that you're taking on the system. And so it creates a scenario where, like, whenever there's a majority of people that agree that something is bad, there's a minority of people that are like obsessed with making that thing happen and more popular. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Like then the onus is on us. Eliza spoke to this and I completely agree with it. It's what I do all day, which is like investing in a left narrative infrastructure, because how is it that because people are anti Ken Paxton, he wins, right? This is what you're saying, right? If someone's like so against you, you become like the chosen one because you're counterculture. But really what you're doing is protecting the Epstein class, protecting yourself against the laws that you are breaking and the predators that you're protecting. I totally hear what you're saying, but it makes me go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, because it does not make moral or logical sense that this is what's happening in the United States of America.
Well, we could say that on every episode, because that is the timeline that we live in.
And ... Do we have something else to talk about today?
We do. In What Fresh Hell Is This? Edition number 642. Currently under construction is the cage in front of the White House, where some immigrants are going to fight some Americans in about 2 weeks for Trump's 80th birthday, in front of the billionaire oligarchs who are literally puppeteering our government at present.
Have you seen images of it?
Yes.
It's disgusting. It's like Neme Nimdolo, she posted this really funny thing on her story that was like, even our founding fathers, who, parentheses, literally owned people, would not be okay with this. Like, it is so grotesque. And did you see the Dana White interview when a reporter, I think it was a Fox News reporter, asked, and will any women be fighting? Because there are female cage fighters.
Yeah, right.
And it just didn't work out that way. It didn't work out that way.
He said it didn't work out that way. That was his answer. Oh,
that was his answer.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to be clear from the beginning. This is liberal rage bait. Mm-hmm. And I genuinely think that they're doing it just as much to hurt us as they are to enjoy whatever this event is, because it's so uniquely designed to trigger us. Liberals do not watch UFC. Like, no. for the most part, liberals have such an academic sort of response to it, or at least like the liberal party establishment class. I'm sure that they're like, obviously there are Democratic voting people who watch UFC and WWE and all these things, but culturally it's so antithetical to current mainstream liberal coastal elitist bullshit culture that it is literally a nuclear bomb.
No, it's a cultural nuclear bomb on the front lawn of the White House. It is
watching Bezos, Zuckerberg, Cook, Musk, and whoever watch these men who are like commoners beat each other,
draw blood
into submission. It's like
so violent. UFC is so violent. I want the celebrity death match, but not claymation. I want Bezos and Musk to go at it.
Isn't Zuck like trained in something, BJJ?
Yeah, he's doing like jujitsu or something.
Get in there. I want to see. I don't want to see them fight each other. I want to see one of the UFC fighters v Zuck go.
Oh my God.
Let's see what happens.
Don't their punches, like, aren't they like, 500 pounds of weight when they punch? So, to Eliza's point on CBS and the CBS of it all, did you know that there is also a deal with Paramount Plus, $7.7 billion that closed with UFC?
I mean, the accoutrement of this event are just like corruption galore. Trump has been promoting a online casino that is sponsoring the event that is literally illegal. It's illegally operating, and Trump has posted about it 4 times with the logo. Funny. Like, what are we talking about?
What are we talking? What would be the live version of the UFC cage fight on the front lawn?
I feel like
the ballet, like
drag
interpretive
race
dance. Yeah,
live drag race runway hosted by Chelsea Handler. I don't know.
No, RuPaul's Work the World live with Bianca Del Rio.
Right.
No, I mean, yeah, it's like, to your point, we need to just like, I know we're talking about this. We have to overstate your point. This is rage bait. It is like the creme de la creme of corruption, and don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. You can comment on it. You can look at it, but we look away. Look away.
And if you're going to talk about it in every breath, which I have not done in this episode, in every breath, it should be look at Trump putting on shows while you pay $7 a gallon for gas. Look at Trump putting on shows while we drop $100 billion worth of bombs on Iran. Look at Trump putting on shows and hanging out with billionaires while your food prices double. It has to be both, because just hating UFC for the sake of hating UFC, thinking that it's barbaric, that's the trap. That's where they make all of us look out of touch, because UFC is like relatively mainstream. So like it, I don't think that I have the most popular opinion about UFC in the world. And so if we make this about whether UFC is cool or not, we will lose. But if it's about why is Trump spending all this money? Why is he spending all this money putting on an event to entertain billionaires while none of us can afford a house? It's different.
Yeah. Or why is Trump protecting the Epstein class?
I mean, dancing for them, right? This is putting on a festival inside the walls of the castle while the potato famine ravages the commoners. Like,
don't bring up the potato famine to me. I will say also, like, I had this vision, I like the 15 shots outside the White House last week. It's just like the epicenter of violence that this is. It's just like,
Okay, G, we will not be watching that, but why don't we go ahead and send them off with a good vibe? This week, the South Carolina Senate, in a surprise move, rejected the state's new maps, which would have eliminated the only majority black district in the state, in one of the states with the most black voters in the country, eliminating all representation of Democrats. And the Senate said no, because voting was already underway. 12 Republicans changed their mind at the last minute, which is like a decent sizable block. And a bunch of them have been on the record saying they will not change their mind back. So I'm cautiously optimistic that we actually are going to hold the South Carolina seat.
That's a great vibe. So we'll take it.
We got to take them where we can get it.
I know.
All right. Thanks, y'all. We will be back here same time, same place next week. Do not forget that we have a bonus episode with Eliza Orlins coming out on Friday.
Thanks, all.
Thank you all for listening. And thank you to Eliza Orlins for joining us. She is so fucking smart, and I really appreciate her sharing her time. If you are watching, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like, and drop us a comment. And if you are audio only, please leave us a review so that more listeners can find the pod. We will be back here same time, same place next week. Thanks, guys.